Alright, so bad news. Magic Online crashed during round 3, and it was a pretty absurd round. It also did not let me sideboard that round. And I was against Blue-Green Cloud Post, and it crashed with 5 minutes left, and then I had to, like, quickly log back on and, like, try and win, and I won with 10 seconds left, but we don't have a recording, so now we're in round 4 at 2-1, and our hand is fine. And now I'm down 5 minutes because I was trying to like recover my recording, but that didn't work. So hopefully it doesn't come down to time again, because that was not fun. So now we're just gonna jam Swift Spear here. We have this Trop that would otherwise be a basic island in everyone else's list. So this isn't like really screwing over my Fire Blast or anything. We did draw a second copy of Spell Pierce, so depending on what our opponent is, it looks like probably a Stoneblade type deck. So these are probably going to be not great. But might be able to snipe a few things, especially since they usually don't expect this deck to play Spell Pierce. So ponder into a few lands and a Treasure Cruise. And if he is actually Stoneblade, which I think is what the Marsh Flats indicates, then I do want the Cruise. So we'll just order him like that. And then keep him in Spell Pierce in case he goes for a Plow or something. And then next turn, I'm not sure what I want to do. Like, I want to shuffle away that Volcanic for sure, but I also want to save the fetch for my Brainstorm, so I don't know. Maybe I just have to Brainstorm while drawing the Volcanic. So now we get to Pierce's Plow. Maybe get an extra damage with Prowess. That would be pretty nice. Yeah, if... Okay, he's going to fetch too. Maybe he's going to Pierce me back. Be pretty nice if I had a Daze here, but can't have it all, you know? Yeah, he is piercing me back. Alright. So, not the best turn of events. Do get to gain 3 life thanks to Prowess. So, back at 22. Not the most relevant of things, but could be. Especially if, you know, we have Probe in our deck and we're paying a bunch of life. So he fires off a Brainstorm. He basically doesn't have to be scared of Daze now, because if I had Daze, I certainly would have fought over that exchange. Force of Will, it's probably not so clear. I don't think I would have. So now we're going to draw Treasure Cruise. And I think I'm just going to Brainstorm here, because I want to put back this Fire Blast, and I can just put back the Volcanic that's on top. So we draw a Force of Will and another Swift Spear. So I'm just going to hold open Pierce for Swords this turn and any potential Planeswalkers on his turn. And then I could Ponder and Cruise next turn with Force backup if my Pierce doesn't get taxed or if I draw a blue card. So I don't mind my spot here. Thoughtseize kind of changes things. How aggro do I want to be here? I think it's pretty aggro. I think I have to force this Thoughtseize. Like, I need that Treasure Cruise, and the Pierce is likely dead, and Force might hit something like a Stoneforge, but I feel like if he Stoneforges, I should be able to, like, Cruise and Ponder into an answer, so yeah. I'm just going to force this, remove the Pierce. Again, pretty aggressive. If he forces back, that's fine. He has 1 card, takes my Cruise. I have a Ponder and a Dude. versus whatever his one card is. So I think no matter what the outcome is, I'm in a pretty good spot as long as I get to resolve this cruise. And he pierces it. That's bad. That's really bad. I'm gonna get another warning thing. Oh, okay. So him piercing it is really bad for me. Maybe I should have considered that. These decks normally don't play that many pierces, so felt like I was pretty safe. Still have backdoor outs, can still ponder into something. Feels so bad they're like shipping a ponder and keeping a pierce though. Well, now we have a Delver, so at least we have a couple threats. Like ponder and try and set this thing up. So we can set it up with two of them. It's probably pretty good too. So assuming no Delvers or not Delvers, Stone Forges or Supreme Verdicts, we should be in like pretty reasonable shape. We'll see though. Lingering Souls could be kind of annoying. Use a true name, that doesn't really bug me. He chose me, that's good. Names are important. Could save this probe to try and get in a point with Swift Spear, but I don't think that's really worth it. Just want to get to this fetch land, I think. Look at his hand, Deathrite and Jace. So Jace could potentially be annoying, but I could just attack it down after he bounces one of my Delvers. And he draws a Treasure Cruise, so that could potentially be very bad for me. So we'll see what happens. He's got to draw a lot of relevant things to fight two Delvers. Could just be like swords, fetch land into green maybe, but I guess there are no creatures in the graveyard. And yeah, just concedes, so weird game. Probably could have played a little bit better, but I was pretty fortunate there at the end. So I played against this matchup. I like the Vortexes, I like the Grudges. Price of Progress is pretty nice. Board out Fire Blast, Dazes, one of the Force of Wills, and then I want some Pyros. And I think before I was like shaving a Swift Spear, but I already did that. Pierces are pretty bad, so now I just have to shave one. That could be a Swift Spear. I'm like pretty threat light at that point. I think that's fine. Swift Spear has like a lot of, not a lot of trouble, but a decent amount of trouble getting through on the ground. Especially against true name decks. But hopefully able to handle his equipment and handle his creatures, and then we should be in a pretty good spot. I have Pyros to counter his Treasure Cruises, and then a lot of cantrips to find my own. So I've found that this matchup is pretty good, but anything could happen. His deck is certainly powerful too. How's Budakov doing? Budakov went 2-2 after he beat me. That's not nice. He beat the crap out of me and then lost. Alright, so game 2 up a game. Hand is pretty nice. Obviously missing a threat, but can't have it all, you know. And I could also use a cantrip too, but I have Pyro and Bolt to make it so I don't die in the early game. Draw another land, which is fine. Thankfully it's a fetch land, so Cruz is going to be able to get in there. And I think we're just going to play a land. Doesn't really matter what happens this turn. If I draw a Pyromancer, I'm going to want this probe, and I kind of want to save the probe anyway. Just for next turn to see an extra card to get more information. Because it's like, there are only 6 things I could draw this turn to make it really worthwhile. If I had a Ponder, I'd probably just wait till turn 2 anyway, so. If I didn't have an answer to Stoneforge, things might be different, but now, if he plays Stoneforge, I bolt it, and then he wants to force it, I can force back. Pitching Probe, keeping Cruz. So he thought seizes me, and that's fine. Nothing I can really do about that. I can certainly force it, but we're a ways off of Cruz. If he wants to take Cruz out of this hand, that's fine, because the game's going to go on for a while. We'll see, though. Depends what he has in his hand. If he has a True Name he's trying to stick, maybe he takes Pyro. If he thinks the game's going along, he could take Cruz. If he has a Stoneforge, he could take Bolt. It's like kind of tough because I have Force plus Pyro and Bolt, so he can't knock me out of anything except for Treasure Cruise. Like, Cruise is my 1 card drawer, and that's it. This is like the only unique card in my hand. Alright, so he ends up taking the Force of Will, which is kind of strange, I guess. I don't know. Let's see what's going on here. See why that makes sense. I'm gonna write this down over here. Was using my other monitor, but I'm not anymore. So Mystic, Deathrite Shaman, Brainstorm, Swords, Cruise. We draw another probe. So I don't know if I want to Brainstorm first, then fire off this probe, or just probe now. Probably just probe now. Draw a Vortex, that's kind of interesting. And we find a Swift Spear. So Cruise, Mystic, Deathrite, Brainstorm, Swords. So I think this is a pretty easy land plus Cruise going back. I definitely want the Pyro Bolt at the first Cruise. I think I need the Swift Spear to get a card out of his hand, to get the swords out of his hand. Not sure if he's even going to bother swordsing this or not. Yeah, he doesn't. It doesn't bother brainstorming either. Which is kind of strange considering he has Stoneforge and knows that it's probably going to resolve, but yeah, if he just wants to wait until my turn to brainstorm, or till his main phase to brainstorm, that also makes sense. Try and hit that 3rd land, but the only issue there is if you miss, you're in a lot of trouble. Especially considering the land he tapped, he can't even play Death right now. And his hand was pretty good. If he hit a 3rd land on his draw step, then I don't even know if I would brainstorm. I'd probably just play Stoneforge and Deathrite. So he is going to Mystic. And gets a Batterskull. As So we're probably going to have a pretty big turn here. I wish this island was a red source. Maybe that doesn't... Yeah, that doesn't matter, actually. Yeah, because I want to keep mana open for Pyro on his cruise. Or on a potential Force of Will for this Lightning Bolt. I do want to fetch Trop at some point, but I don't think that time is now. I think I need another red since I have this Vortex. And then we'll just go cruising. Draw Ponder, Brainstorm, Lightning Bolt, so that's good. Bolt kills his Death Right. Always very important. I don't think he's going to cruise this turn, but if he sees that I'm tapped low, he might take the opportunity to. So I think I can just afford to wait here. Get in for 3 with the Swift Spear, put him to 13. Not the fastest clock, but deceptive, you know? 1-2 does not seem very big, but actually ends up being pretty good. Yep, so just does go with the Death Right. It's not really surprising. Kind of stuck on mana, and just chooses to keep 2 mana open, so... I could very easily be a Spell Pierce, but I'm kind of choked on red, and I definitely want to play the Swift Spear next turn and keep open Pyro, so I'm just going to bolt this now. If it gets Pierced, I'm kind of over it, because Pierce is pretty live against my 3 lands, I think. And it can clear the way for Vortex, too, which might be a big deal. Well, he just lets that go, which I'm certainly fine with. And I draw another Cruise, which is probably going to end up being relevant. So second Swift Spear, praying for no Bile Blight. Kind of tough when he has a Tundra. I was going to say Echoing Decay, but I could just play a spell, so that doesn't do it. And let's go ahead and Ponder here. Prowess a couple times. Fight a fetch land, maybe. Instead, we find all cantrips, which I'm also fine with. Fire off a Probe this turn, pump up my guys some more. Or gals, I suppose. So you Brainstorm, a turn to go. It has a much different hand. Batterskull, Swords, Cruise, Vendilion, and True Name. So opted to not play any 3-mana things there. I think he could have end of turn Vendilioned me. Maybe taken my Pyroblast and then played True Name. That might have been a better call. So one of these is getting Swords, and I want to keep open Pyro, so I'm not going to do anything else this turn. And then depending on what he does on his turn, we should have a pretty reasonable fight. And then maybe I'll be able to cruise again. Might also just be best to stick the Vortex. Well, we'll see. It ends up going for the True Name, which I'm certainly going to counter. Not only because it would brick wall my Swift Spear, but because that could give him a clock actually when I have Vortex, and he could potentially race me. So I think he's probably pretty happy about that. Gets my Pyro out of the way for his cruise, but... should I Ponder or Brainstorm here? I think Ponder. I think it's generally just Ponder first. So these cards are all great. Force Bolt Delta. So now I kind of want to Brainstorm. Yeah, let's Brainstorm. Definitely put this land back, and then I think it's actually the Vortex, although It's possible I might need that to actually kill him. So still has Batterskull, Cruise, Vendilion out of 4 cards. So not worried about Batterskull. Vendilion can get bolted. Kind of worried about Cruise. Going to force that pitching Brainstorm. And then I'll have Swift Spear plus some more cards. Yeah, we can get rid of this Vortex. I could certainly just cruise there and redraw the Vortex, but I don't really want to draw that land either. So now we can get Tropical. And instead, we just draw 2 lands. And Delver, which I'm actually going to play. Or maybe not. Maybe I'd rather force removing Delver. And save the Brainstorm. I don't know, he's at 6 and I have a Bolt, actually. Yeah, whatever. Delver's in there. Yeah, so he's going to go for Cruise. I'm going to force that. Or do I? He needs to draw some pretty good ones off this Cruise, actually. Yeah, we'll just let him have it. This could end up biting me. I don't think so, though. I think we're still doing okay. Like, I'm not sure if Thoughtseize stays in after board. That could be a thing that could clear the way for a plow. Relic. I think that's a little too late. Could have potentially been good earlier. So now we have Force for Swords. And we have 6 damage with the Bolt, so I don't need this Delver to flip, actually. And I'm just going to play out this Pyromancer. Oh, no, we don't actually have lethal. Well, we do if I just cast Brainstorm. So I'm going to Bolt him. And then we'll see if there's a fight over... Oh, yeah, I do have lethal. I'm so stupid. Yeah. So now he has to fight over something and just doesn't have a sword, so we win. So, ended up going 3-1 in the daily. I'm going to play an extra round for you guys just because Moto crashed out on me in round 3. Nothing I could really do about that. So I'm going to hop in a 2-man real quick, and it probably won't be as fun or interesting as the round I played before, but, you know, gotta do what you gotta do.